Hello, everyone. This is Jerome Waddle, and here's a short version of a presentation I gave about the ancient roots of the winter solstice and how it has influenced our various Christmas holiday traditions. The theme of the presentation was ancient sacred seasonal traditions, ritual celebrations, exploring the guiding light of Source, and my presentation was on the Celtic Winter Solstice, Christmas, Ireland. I was inspired to do this presentation when I watched a Zoom meeting by Alexander John Shea, who talked about the winter solstice as a time to rediscover generosity, generativity, and awe of the winter solstice through long-lost Celtic and Christian rituals. The winter solstice this year is Wednesday, December 21st at 4:48 p.m. Eastern Time. Christmas for the Celtics is celebrated 24th through the January 6th, which is 13 days of Christmas. The Christian Christmas tradition is December 25th through January 6th, which would be the 12 days of Christmas. So in this talk, I want to talk about First, the winter solstice in the Ireland tradition. The winter solstice in the Ireland tradition dates back to 5,300 years ago, and there's a Newgrange prehistoric monument in Meath, Ireland, and it's a rounded monument that dates back and is called Newgrange, and it's older than the pyramids of Giza and Stonehenge. Newgrange is on the bend of the River Boyne in Ireland. In restoring the monument, archaeologists found that its only window was perfectly aligned with the rays of the rising sun on the winter solstice. The beam of light would light up in the 60-foot passageway and focus on a granite basin that contained the bones of dead ancestors. This alignment has been esoterically interpreted as the insertion of a ray of light by the sun god into the womb of Mother Earth to bring about the creation of new life in the spring. This time of year is very cold and bleak, which is why many celebrations are needed to help people get through the winter months. And it is significant that many civilizations welcome their solar gods at the time of greatest darkness, including Mithras, the bull-headed warrior god, the Egyptian god Horus, and more recently, Jesus Christ. The wheel of the year revolves beyond death and towards new light and new life. In the Druidic tradition, the name of this festival is called Alban Arthur, Welsh for light of the winter. According to an older and more poetic interpretation, the name is Alban Arthurian, meaning the light of Arthur. In this poetical image, Arthur is symbolized by the sun. The sun dies and is reborn, just as the mystical Arthur is sleeping inside a mountain and will wake up again when the people needs his help. One of the things found in Newgrange was at the Newgrange monument, carved throughout the monument are spiral symbols called a triskelion. And the spiral is kind of like an endless loop going around and around. And so one spiral represents the physical world, the here and now. The other represents the ancestors' world. So we honor the ancestors. And then it has the cosmic world, which gets into the cosmic dimensions. So let's look at some of the Ireland's Celtic traditions that you may be familiar with. First of all, we'll talk about a sacred oak tree, mistletoe, holly, candles in windows, and the Yule log. The Ireland Celtic tradition, sacred oak tree. They used to decorate the oak tree with fruits and dance around it. and they understood this as the tree of life. So it's similar as Christians identified with this tree at the heart of Garden of Eden, and that was adorned with fruit, and the birth of Adam and Eve, and later on the birth of Jesus. So they saw this as a time for generosity, renewal, and celebration. The deepest dark is not life's end, but a time for ritual, to do practices for generativity and generosity. Another tradition says that there is a perpetual battle between the Oak King, the god of waxing light, or the divine child, and the Holly King, the god of the waning light, or the dark lord. Each year at the winter solstice, the Oak King wins the battle and rules until he is defeated by the Holly King at the time of the summer solstice. A lot of the tradition of the sacred oak tree is based on the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine aspects in a lot of the ceremonies. If we look at mistletoe, the Celts used mistletoe as a healing plant, as their superstitions and mythical beliefs told them that mistletoe bestowed miraculous healing powers. It was known to mean all heal in Celtic languages. Mistletoe was believed to have the power to heal diseases, make poisons harmless, give fertility to humans and animals, protect them from witchcraft, ban all evil spirits, and bring good luck and great blessings. It was believed that the mistletoe held the soul of the oak tree, its host tree. As you can see, they would go out with a sheet, and someone had a golden sickle, and they would harvest the mistletoe from the oak tree, and that the mistletoe could not touch the ground, so that it had to be caught by the white sheet. Mistletoe also represented the male aspect in terms of fertility. And mistletoe is a parasitic plant that grows in the boughs of trees, and one of them just being the oak tree, but they had plenty of oak trees. Holly, with its red berries, was another tradition, and was the perpetual battle between the Oak King, the god of waxing light, or the divine child, and the Holly King, the god of waning light, or the dark lord. So they decorate the house with evergreen branches and holly, and the green reminds us of the promise that nature will be green again in the springtime, and life will return to the lands. In the Irish tradition, a house decorated with greeneries is expected to offer a place of rest to nature spirits, fleeing from the cold and darkness. And the red berries also represent the feminine aspect of sexuality. And we also have the candles in windows, which welcome strangers and provides guidance. And so they were very giving and welcome strangers, but the lights, of course, helped with the darkness of the winter. The custom of burning the Yule log was performed to honor the great mother goddess. The log was lit on the eve of the solstice, the darkest night, using the remains of the log from the previous years, and burned for 12 days for good luck. The Celts believed the sun stood still for 12 days. It symbolized the continuity of life and light. From the dark night of our souls would spring the new spark of hope, the sacred fire and light of the world. This is where we get the contemporary 12 days of Christmas. So the log is traditionally ignited with the remaining piece of the last year's Yule log. This way, the light is passed on from one year to another. So the Yule log is to burn slowly for 12 days in the fireplace before it's extinguished. The ashes are stowed away in the springtime, mixed with seeds, and brought out into the fields. Thus, the power of the sun, symbolized by the Yule log, is distributed over the land, and the rest of the wood is kept until the next year to ignite the new log. So the winter solstice and its symbols celebrated the return of the divine child, the Mabon, the rebirth of the golden solstice sun, and King Arthur that was symbolized by the sun. In Catholic tradition, Jesus Christ is the light of the world, and it is no coincidence that Jesus is born at the time of the winter solstice. It has been said that the birth of Christ, which is not dated in the Bible, was originally celebrated in the spring. It was later been moved towards the winter solstice, partly because the early church was unable to stop the winter solstice celebrations and wanted to give them at least a Christian gloss, partly also because it seemed to fit to place the birth of the light into the time of greatest darkness. Many of the traditions, if you're interested in look at the different traditions of even the Celtics or the Christians during these days of Christmas, there's all sorts of different celebrations and for each day, and they vary. For instance, in the Celtic traditions, they have, for instance, the day you grumble. So you just grumble. And then a child will lead the group. And there's a day to honor the great father and a day to honor the great mother. So it's a balance between a sacred masculine and a sacred feminine. So I'd encourage you to take a look and honor your own particular tradition, but also look at all the other traditions have similarities and probably came from the same root, which is what we would call source today. So in summary, we were exploring the guiding light of source. So we can step back, and it's a time to reflect, and it's a time to honor our traditions and to renew, refresh, and keep the sacred source at the center of our lives. The German poet Heinrich Heine said, "Nothing is so permanent as change." In this knowledge, humankind celebrates festivals since times unknown, giving people the opportunity to let go of the old and to embrace the new things which life would certainly hold in store. This is the divine principle. So thank you for listening and have a happy winter solstice and the days following the Christmas celebrations.